Yes, I mean, that it is 8 p.m. and I'm calling this meeting to order. Welcome everybody. Do a roll call here. I am present. Mayor Pro Tem Grillkill, present. Councilmember McClellan has a medical excused absence. Councilmember Moses, present. Councilmember Smith, present. Councilmember Swinson,
Present.
we have Laveda, and Jean Trees.
Really just Jean.
Jean, okay. He's gonna be leading the invocation.
We need it for like these, we're not messianic. We are messianic only in the sense that we meet on Saturday. And that's this small day anyway. We're honored to be here, and we actually call it that to come, and we're grateful for that. And we, that's in honor and prayer. Father God in heaven, we just thank you for this day and this time together, for this assembly of citizens of this community, the community we all love, and we just thank you for this town and all the people who live here. We thank you for these council members and the mayor, all who are elected citizens of this community. We just ask you that you guide them in all their decisions and everything they do, and that you watch over them, keep them safe. And we just pray that you bring harmony and peace to this community, and that only comes through. And we just praise you for your understanding and your direction that gives us life and direction. His name is Yeshua, or Jesus. And we praise you, we give you thanks, and bless this community and bless these council members. Lead them in all their decisions because they have tough jobs. We just guide and direct them in all they do, all we say. And we thank you for this time together this evening. We bless it in Yeshua, Jesus' name.
Allegiance, sir.
All right, just going to both say we did this.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all so much. Announcements. Burn ban is still on, so be careful out there, folks. And still at stage 3, there are restrictions. So mind your outdoor water use, especially, always be mindful. And got this from Miss Betty back there. Planning a Blanco Founders Day dance and get together on the square. This is for local people. This isn't for tourists. I guess they can come. Bobby Max signed up to do music that night. It's March 23rd. It's all day thing. I'm sure you'll be hearing more about it, but I appreciate Miss Betty for spearheading that and getting all the work done. Public comments. We have a sign up.
Yes, we do. And can I be added to that? Can I be added to that? Yes. What is your name? Courtney Trent. I'll write it in.
All right. Andy Rudy.
Now, I'd like to think of myself as a good citizen of Blanco. I'm on the board at the Good Samaritan Center. I'm a presiding election judge for Precinct 102. I'm dedicated to Blanco, which is the reason I'm standing for 4 weeks. About 3 weeks ago, I was about to pull out of the Blanco Methodist Church to go on North 281. I very narrowly missed getting in a life-ending or at the very least a life-altering collision with a speeding trucker. This truck was going so fast that he was weaving into the left lane as he came around the bend right before we get to the church. There was no way this trucker could have stopped avoiding a collision at the speed the truck was traveling. I'm here tonight because I see all too often trucks speeding through my road. The rumor is that you, city council, is holding back on giving speeding tickets because you don't want to be known as a speed traffic. I have to ask you, at what cost to your voting constituents are you willing to hold up to chant just so you can allow truckers to speed dangerously through our town? I read that Blanco needs funds for more police. Couldn't speeding tickets be the resource you're looking for? I'm all in favor of giving truckers a warning ticket at first incident of speeding through Blanco. Once warned, a high-dollar speeding ticket will go a long way in protecting our road, and especially our citizens. Thank you for your
Thank you very much. Julie Alexander. Okay.
Timing myself. Dear Mayor and council members, this is from Julie Alexander. I wanted to share my opinion of the decision that planning and zoning made yesterday evening in regard to the Blanco River Run replat project and the Weber subdivision. It was very disheartening to have Weber subdivision neighbors so distraught over the decision that recommends approval of the project to council. The special area there at the Run is a beautiful residential area with a lot of character and serene ambiance. I too feel that new homes going into the subdivision does change the character and rural feel, turning it more suburban. And I have hopes the builder will seriously consider the style of home and exterior elevations when he designs what to build. I have hopes the new construction conforms to the area and does not look like typical production new subdivision community looking its done, but that it seemingly feels like it's been there all along. However, the decision for my vote to approve this project was not made out of emotions. It was made out of the rule of the city ordinances that are currently set forth and the rights the property owner has for the use of his property. Planning and zoning did nothing more than bless the approval of the rights this property owner has. This scenario is a prime example of why I'm in favor of the city council to look further into the overlay project. If an investor chooses to come into our city limits today and invest money into a commercial project within the city limits, they would have every right to create exactly what our volunteers on P&Z and council and our citizens have voiced what we want to prohibit from happening in Blanco. At this time, I see our city open to turning into what Dripping Springs looks like. I hope the council will address what our ordinances allow and create a plan to take baby steps into reevaluating and updating what the future can look like for Blanco. Sincerely yours, Julia.
Marcy Westcott.
In the last council meeting, I spoke in open comments, and I made some impassioned statements about the mayor's proposed relief route and the effect it would have on the residential area of Sunset Ridge. I pointed out that you, Mayor, were unaware of the city boundaries. I hope you've had an opportunity to educate yourself on that. An interesting thing happened the next day at the council meeting. I received an email from Councilmember Moses, and his opening line was, "I have contacted you to ask you if you would be willing to meet with the mayor and I about your concerns involving the 281 relief route. We understand why you are upset about the whole deal. We would like to give you the chance to directly voice your opinion and your concerns." The email went on to spiral into an attack on Councilmember Grailgill and Councilmember Simpson. So I'm not going to dignify it by repeating it here. I replied to Councilmember Wentz's saying, I am eager to discuss my concerns about the relief route situation with you. I'm willing to do this if you will honor my request to make our discussion an agenda item for the September council meeting. Since you have expressed that transparency is an important issue for you, as it is for me, this would ensure a dialogue can take place in an open forum without concern for the spread of misinformation and misrepresentation of what is said. As we can see, that is not an agenda item tonight. So much for transparency. I don't believe my request for this to be an agenda item is in any way frivolous. Quite the contrary, I can't think of anything more serious than discussing concerns about an entire area of residents whose properties and lives are being threatened. There you planted your campaign plan in the ground of transparency. You've even gone to some links to discuss having investigations about people currently on your staff and the forming of a transparency committee. There is a transparency issue, Mayor, and I, along with many other people, believe it rests with you. I had hoped to have my concerns discussed here tonight, up front, out in the open, cards on the table for everyone to hear. As we can see, that isn't going to happen. But as someone once said to me, there's more than one way around the barn.
Thank you. And just for a note, that request was not related to me. So that's the first thing here about it. Thank you. Courtney Trent.
Hi. So, name is Courtney Trent. I live in the Landing at Lingo. And when I moved there with my husband, we had just finished closing a sale on the business we built ourselves in Canyon Lake. And we chose Blanco because it is a small community with wide open spaces, and it is a representation of the area. We also own a little bit of land on 1623, and we've seen the devastation of that pipeline. Regardless of what they said about cleanup, there is oak wilt running rampant on 1623, and I blame that on the pipeline. So I hear now from various people that we've got widening of 281 with leaf routes that are possibly going to run just south of my property. I'm not going to get anything for that because you're not going to run in my property. You're just going to run right alongside it. That's what I'm hearing. And as the other speaker said, I see that there's other alternatives. I hear excuses of why we just have to do this. Big trucks. Got to have another place for traffic to go on I-35. And I'm telling you, is that really the only answer? Is to create a big, giant speeding freeway, either through or by Blanco? So I'm not in the city limits. I don't get to vote. You might take that, what I say, with a grain of salt. But I don't know what else to do except to get up here and speak. It's not just me, by the way. I'm on our board in our homeowners association. That's how I volunteer. And I have one of my members of our association who is scared to death. Put a lot of money into a piece of property this year, and it looks like some of this proposed route is going to exit right by his property. And the widening happens, there's 3 of my association members who are going to have their property chewed up. So what I'm asking you guys is listen to Marcy, listen to this young lady here. Let's talk about our traffic. Let's make it an agenda item and let's discuss it for real. I'm going to say here right now that August 28th meeting was a joke. Not a single person from TxDOT had anything to say except here's a map that shows a very small extent around Blanco. Pick a map, pick a path. There's some blue markers and you can put them and lay them over your neighbor's properties. Didn't like that. And I think it was a joke. I don't know whose box you were checking, but I didn't like it. So I'm here today and I'm going to try to come to everyone that I can to keep this front and center. I want this on the agenda and I want alternatives
to concrete right through the middle of this beautiful rural country. Thanks.
Thank you very much. That's the, how many have another fact sheet for the public hearing? Okay. Public hearing. Everybody on it? Okay. Moving on, we have a presentation from, Ms. Sherry Jenkins. Welcome.
Thank you, sir. I just first, I have to tell this lady, I've never met anybody with your name before, but my name is Sherry LaVega. Really, named after my grandmother. So that was kind of, it was worthwhile being here with her, you know. That's just an unusual name, and so I'm pleased to get to hear that. I have some copies that I want to share with y'all. These are not the best. My friend tried to enlarge it and it distorted it somehow.
Hold it out a little bit.
Well, this is like a 3D rendition of this. It's certainly not the final presentation that'll be done. What this is, let me start by introducing myself. My name is Sherry Smith Jenkins. I was born right across the street in 1947. So I'm one of those people that have my name in the wall. My mother was Mary Ivy Bryan, born and raised here in Waterville. In fact, she's born just out here in the east. My father, Indy Smith, for the older folks around here, he was the peach guy because he was the one that owned the peach orchards in the northern end of Blanco County. So I tell this again because I want everybody to understand this. I told the county commissioners when the judge challenged me about including and being inclusive with everybody in the county. I said, I can do that, and I know it works because my parents were married over 60 years. So that's just my little tidbit about it all. For a number of years, the judge and I had talked about a veterans memorial. And I had a project that I was doing in Austin, and so I couldn't take on anything else. I am the chapter president for the Daughters of the American Revolution, the Hill Country chapter that represents Blanco County. I've been a DAR member for almost 30 years. If you're not familiar with them, we're very much inclined to be respectful of the flag, teach education, be a very constant with veterans. So that's how we came to this. And many of you are aware and know that Joe Garcia really tried a number of years ago to make this happen, and it just couldn't happen. In fact, he had talked to me, we talked about a place in Johnson City, and where unfortunately we lost Joe. But we didn't lose the dream. That's what I'm here to tell you today. The dream is still very much alive. So in November, the judge saw me and he said, "Are you about ready for this task?" And I said, "Give me till after the first year and I'll be ready." I'd spent 4 years building the Daughters of the Republic of Texas History Center in Austin, Texas, a 14,000 square foot building. And you're saying, how did you do that at your age? Well, my husband was in the construction business, had a background for it, and so on and so forth. And our son has the company now. So we're third generation. Our grandson just went in. So that's how I began that task. I closed that out this year, August 1st. Out of that responsibility after 4 years. So in February, I was appointed the chair by the Blanco County Commissioners, your Commissioner Court, to lead the task of the Blanco County Veterans Memorial for all of us to celebrate what the veterans have done so that you and I can be here tonight, that our grandchildren are free, and that we can be secure, and for us to say thank you to everybody on a daily basis. Along with that, appointment, Clay Simpson, from Johnson City. He's out of the Prider family. Some of you may or may not recognize that. It's a pretty prominent old name in Blanco County. And then Lita Garcia, who is the widow of Joe, is on our committee, as well as Mike Galop, who is the commander of the American Legion. So those are the official appointed. So how this works is, the Daughters of the American Revolution chapter in Blanco County are the sponsors. We're the 501(c). So if you donate or whatever else, it is a tax opportunity for you. And I have committed to the county judge and the commissioners and to you, the taxpayers, that this will not cost anything. The county will maintain it, but they will not pay for the installation of it. So what happened was, we need to find a designer, and yes, the judge challenged me that the last name of the designing company is my last name. Well, we're Jenkins Design and Build, and so our son and his staff decided that they wanted to do this for the county and for the veterans, and so they have designed this. We are scheduled to be our final presentation. What you're seeing here is a 3D type situation. It's pretty much so final, but our committee meets again this Friday. And we'll, if everybody agrees with what we've got on there and the changes that have been made, then it'll be approved. And I'm on the commissioner's court for the 26th. Once we present it to the commissioners and the commissioners approve it, and I talked with the judge today, then we'll put it out to bid and we'll know how much it's going to cost us. That gives us an opportunity. We'll have benches. You'll see 12 what they call butter block benches. This is at the corner of Bluebonnet and Nugent, right behind the annex in Johnson City. There's a little piece back there that gave us 1,000 by 1,000, and we had to then go before the city of Johnson City, and we had to have a tree survey done, and we did that. And I'm proud to say the city of Johnson City is behind it 100% and gave us a blank permit to move forward. We have already begun the process of trimming the trees up, taking down what they consider a trash tree or what the survey considered needed to be done. So that process has been done, and it was donated by the arborist Bowmasters. So everything that we're doing is in-kind services, and then we're going to give you the opportunity, because we have a walkway of heroes, and they will have pavers, we have benches, they're called butter blocks, but they're white limestone, and it will start with a 35 to 40 foot curve, and you can see that at the presentation from Bluebonnet to Nugent. And on that 3 foot wall will be Blanco County Veterans Memorial in black. There'll be 2 flags that fly right there out of that, which are the American and the Texas that fly at the same height. The POWMIA will just be out from that. The American Legion has asked it to hold a place card. They want to put something there, maybe some kind of sculpture. I'm not sure what that is going to be yet. And we will have plaques to explain to those visitors, young people or whomever, that might visit there, what a POWMIA is. I think most of us understand that, but I think there is a group that does not. We will then we will have all the pavers. We will have, you can see on that, there are 6 granite pieces. They'll be about 2.5 foot tall, so that if you're in the circle, you'll be able to see that without any deterrent. It won't be high enough. And that'll have the insignias of each one of the service branches. I did find out before I can put that insignia on there, I have to I'm in the process of getting that approved from each one of the Department of Defense, from each one of those services. So it's a step-by-step process, all volunteer. And, I want to encourage everybody to become a part of this. I know I happened to meet a young man yesterday at the, in Johnson City at CRC celebrating our, responders. And I found out that he was, your police chief is a veteran. And many of his family members. So I want it to be inclusive. I want everybody to understand that. Anybody that'll let me talk, you probably already figured that out. I'm up for selling this because this is why we're here in America. So that's important for us to do that. One of the things that we're doing, and I do have these cards, we gave these out, members of the Hill Country chapter, the ladies during the Blanco County parade were staged throughout the parade route in Johnson City. They gave these out. It has a QR code on the back of it. Cheryl Pratt at the Sign Shop in Johnson City is our publication, donates her time and these things free. And we thank these people that for doing that. Because I don't know how to do a QR code, but I know if you put your phone on it, it'll take you to the website. Now, the website's under, under construction, and we're in the possibility of making that. So if y'all want to pass some of those around and some to the, and we'll have some more. So you say, how do I get involved? Once the Commissioner's Court approves this, then we will be putting our paper applications on the website. We will be putting the adoptions for all of these things will be attached to that website. And that's how we're going to pay for this. And we can't do it without people who believe in freedom and believe in our veterans. The other thing that we were approached, I was given an update to the Commissioner's Court. And Con Street in Johnson City, which I know is the old Blanco County Hardware and Supply, is having a car show. Y'all have yours in March or May or something. They're having one the fourth day, I think it is, of November. They have chosen the Blanco County Veterans Memorial as their project for all the fees and for this raffle that's going to take place. So again, I'm going to leave some of these. Y'all can share that. That's why we have to get the word out. We have to share this kind of thing. So it'll be a walkway. The 12 butter blocks. We want people to come there. These butter blocks that are going to be adopted are going to have sayings from all the different wars on it. The committee will choose those. It won't be the participant that gets to choose those. We will choose the and representation of all the wards. And if you or a family member or a group would like to adopt one of these, then we will put the plates on. All of this is, maybe you want to adopt the Navy emblem, then we would, if you sponsor that, you're recognized. And if you do an in-kind service with us, that as well. The other thing that we're doing on the website for many years, since I've served on the Historical Commission for a long time, is I've been involved with veterans. I've collected a lot of veterans pictures. If you have a family member or someone that you would like to put into our veteran album, we'll take those pictures in. We're, like I said, we're loading those now, and they're going to be on our website. We want to tell a brief little two-line about the veterans and what they did and how they served. So I would say, do you have questions there?
Thank you for all your hard work, and I'm glad to see you making traction on this. It's exciting.
It's a joy. It's a joy.
Yeah.
It's a joy and an honor to be able to do this for the county that my family's been in for 160 years. And and my husband, I will tell you, I am motivated by my husband as well. My husband is a 26-year U.S. Air Force retired Chief Master Sergeant. And my son, who just turned 50 today, is a retired Marine and still works for the Marine Corps in Quantico with the embassy group. So I am a proud mother, a proud wife, have many family members in this, and that's what it's all about. And I am passionate. Thank you. I hope they come back and get an update. Is there any questions I can answer? And if somebody's interested in volunteering, just tell them to call. There's a job. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thanks for the work. All right, moving on, there's a proclamation. I'm not gonna read all the whereases, I'll read them there. Country Night Sky Month. So we're proclaiming that October 2023 shall hereafter be known as Hill Country Night Sky Month in Blanco, Texas. The Mayor and City Council encourage citizens to enjoy the night sky, participate in Hill Country Region's events and programs celebrating night sky and promoting ways in which communities are working to preserve it. The Mayor and Blanco City Council encourages citizens to learn about light pollution and why it matters, night sky friendly lighting and lighting recommendations, and to implement practices and lighting improvements that will reduce light pollution, thereby preserving our night skies. And the Blanco City Secretary is hereby instructed that the proposed proclamation at Blanco City Hall for public display and this document to the permanent records. Moving on to staff presentations, City Hall. Press.
Thank you, Mayor, residents of Blanco. Normally I put something up, but I'm not going to do that today. Well, it's a main thing we've been working on last couple of months. City council residents with budget approval on the 14th. Next week, the utility rate increases pass, and that is going to allow us to have balanced budget and actually more than balanced budgets. The one thing I did want to mention as part of this process of trying to create efficiency, we're going to have a meeting, a special council meeting next week, September 19th at 6 p.m. and we'll have that on the website and everything to have a presentation about replacing meters, water meters that will be absorbed. The cost will actually be absorbed. The person doing this will explain all of that, but it will be no additional cost to taxpayers. But this will actually replace some of these meters that are 25 or 30 years old. The real reason to do this is water leaks, things like that. You don't know water leaks. They know here today that there's water leaks and you don't know about it. This will help us understand that. Instead of doing what we have sort of manual reads, we will actually have the ability from SCADA to actually know if there are issues with our meters. We still have to do manual turn offs and things like that, but that will actually increase their efficiency.
Does it read only? I've heard people, oh, they can shut off my water.
No, they have to shut off their water from that location. At least we are not opting for that.
Thank you so much. Police Department, Chief Rubin.
Good evening. Before I get into the numbers, just looking out there. Homecoming parade is tomorrow. It's at 6:15. We'll loop around the square, so it'll be very congested. Here tomorrow. We'll probably starting around 6 o'clock or so. We'll start gathering, and the parade probably get around 6:30 and make its loop through the square and then get back down to the high school. And then we'll be at rally at the football stadium at starting town. You have the most important trying to use. Based on the comments in that, I just wanted to point out a couple of numbers. Normally we do these comparisons at the end of the year, but I just want to do some verification of stuff that was brought up. So the comments on traffic enforcement. So last year, for the entire year, we had 581 citations. Year to date, we have 857. So we're far surpassing last year's total numbers with 4 months left to go this year. Speeding tickets last year were 269 for the total year. Year to date, 479. So we're 210 citations over where we were at the end of last year with 4 months left of this year. So I believe we are out working traffic and writing citations when they're warranted based on the numbers. And that's just a real snippet of just the traffic, but our assaults are up, our sexual offenses are double, based on end of year numbers next year. So we've been very busy year to date. We are still trying to staff up with positions that were authorized. They're not full yet. So we still have 3 shifts with only 1 officer shifts, and 1 shift with 2 officers shift. So again, we're authorized those positions. Those positions are not yet filled. So this work is really being accomplished by. So as I said, I expect those numbers to continue to increase as we put boots on the ground. So that's all.
Can we briefly comment on the idea of using funds from citations?
First of all, it's against the law. There's actually a statute in Texas that a certain portion of the city's revenue comes from traffic fines. They withhold the money from the state. They cap on what we can get with traffic fines. But additionally, what most people don't realize is that a very small percentage of citation money remains in the city. The majority of it is sent to the state through mandated fees and programs. So for it's the city our size of 1 officer per shift is not. They just disbanded a police department in Collin, Texas. They're trying to use that. That just happened yesterday.
One more.
Yes, sir.
Just to speak to the comment that was made earlier. Have you been instructed by city council to not be a speed traffic?
Obviously, we've had discussions about, pros and cons, and that's why I really want to highlight those numbers to show that we have increased our traffic enforcement and we have increased our number of citations. So that's.
I know everyone would like us to be the next Selma, if everybody remembers.
Yeah.
The reputation was, I love people that say, oh, don't speed through Blanco.
And again, so like we talked about, so when you look at those numbers and the number of officers per shift and you have their calls. So, and again, I appreciate, the approval of those positions, but reality is, staffing is an issue for every smart to say right now, and we're trying to be competitive and bring officers on. But we have calls that last, we had an emotionally disturbed person the other day, and that call lasted over 4 hours. So for that 4 hours, nothing. So we do appreciate the authorization of the positions, and we're trying to get there where we see the usefulness.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you. Moving on, consent agenda. It's going to be easy because we're moving items 1, 4, 5, and 6 into new business, which leaves items 2 and 3, approval of the minutes of August 14th and August 22nd. Any objections to passing those 2 by consent? That's number 1. So items 2 and 3 is what we're doing by consent.
I make a motion that we approve consent agenda items 2 and 3.
There's a second.
I'll second.
The vote here is to approve items 2 and 3. All in favor? All right. We're going to move on to new business. I've been asked by a council member to step into a brief executive session before we go into this. And so it's 6:39. We're going to temporarily stop the public session. We're going to step into the executive session. Okay, it is 7:07. We're back in session. No business was conducted in executive session. Picking back up with the consent agenda items that were bumped, I know a lot of them today, August 8th minutes. Correction.
Yeah, Lori, I just have one little edit.
August 8th, yeah. It is page number 4.
Number 5,
Yes.
page number 4, last two sentences. Mayor Pro Tem Brook Hill, presiding officer or city administrator can add an agenda item. I don't expect an exact quote, but my intention in that motion, and I have my notes from it, was a presiding officer, the city administrator, or any one member. And I think the minutes will reflect that. That was it. Thank you.
I also have a, same one, page 3, old number 1.
I'm still learning. Okay, go ahead. I'm ready.
Same ones.
Same meeting, page 3, old business number 1. Says, mayor showed a map put out by Textile and one from council discussed. I believe it, I would like to add discussion followed about where the map.
Okay.
Got it.
So the two corrections are, we'll place this item number 1, adding after council discussion followed about where the map originated is the correction. And then on the next page, the next to the last sentence, motion is made. It says presiding officer, city administrator, or anyone on the council. Is the correction. There's no objection to those corrections. I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
I make a motion to approve consent agenda item number 1 with the 2 aforementioned corrections.
All in favor? Unanimously. Picking up with consent agenda item number 4, City of Blanco social media policy. Would you like to give a little presentation or discussion of this, Sasha?
Well, I mean, we have a small, little snippet in our personnel book about, social media policy. But, a lot of cities have their own social media policy. And I think, I've kind of done research with different cities, and of course, cities share their policies with other cities. So I've read quite a few policies, and I feel that this one would best fit our city. There's other cities that are a lot stricter. I've actually worked in a city that I've actually had to let somebody go due to postings on social media. The main thing is to keep, you can have your Facebook page. I'm just going to give you an example. You can have your personal Facebook page. I don't have that personally, but you can have that at home. But you definitely keep where you work off of your social media. You keep that separate. So that's pretty much the main thing that I want to hit home on the social media policy that we have. I know everybody has, I don't even know all the things that you have, but like Facebook and all the other things you can post on. This is just pretty much keep City of Blanco or anybody tied with the City of Blanco in your social media posts. Use it more for, like, I guess, family picture sharing or whatever you use for, I don't know. But that's pretty much what this social is, just to keep the City of Blanco at a positive note and with our staff and our council and members. So that's why I presented this one, because like I said, the one we have in our personnel policy is a snippet and it's very vague and it does absolutely nothing, to be honest.
I appreciate your work in putting this together. I think I would have benefited personally from this being in place 3 months ago. But I do have issues with this as is.
Okay.
And I'll do my best to avoid those. technology has far outpaced regulations. I mean, there's so many permutations with social media and all that stuff.
Correct.
My concern is the fuzziness of it. I think we're inviting, this could be weaponized in different hands, and it could be a trap for lawsuits. I mean, I see First Amendment issues here. I also see it getting very confusing. I understand personal, hello, my name is Mike, but there's also candidate Mike and candidate Rail Bill that need some liberty to
Right.
campaign.
And I did get the policies you have here, I did send it over to the attorney and got
Yeah,
response.
and so this seems like
We can look it up.
it's a minefield.
I have many of them out there from different cities. Again, it's been looked at by other attorneys also, so I can pull many other ones, but this is not the one that, it's a, actually, like I said, there's millions of them out
I
there.
personally would appreciate that. I don't get a vote unless it's a tie, but I personally would appreciate seeing more
Yes,
options.
Yes, sir, I have. In its entirety, in detail, 3 times, and I made several revisions as well. Revisions are reflected in what we. Yes, they are, and, you know, it's ultimately a policy decision, it's your policy, so. Let me stand up and just briefly state. I appreciate what the mayor just said, by the way. In fact, one of the additions that I made to this document is under the heading employee social media, where, for example, on page 3 at the top, and this is a policy decision we all make, where the policy addresses use of social media on and off duty, or in the case of you all, on duty as the city council member or mayor, or off duty as not currently acting in official capacity. You'll notice that under item 1, I added the word if, and here I'm quoting, if an official, which would include city council members, would include Warren. If an official would include me, I'm an officer of the city by your appointment. And there's a listing of officers other than city council members in the Texas statute. If an official or employee publishes, and here's a key, any personal information about themselves, another official or employee, citizen or vendor, blah, 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 that has, and this is where you have to decide yourself. Personal info posted on social media that has the potential or effect of involving other officials or employees or coworkers, etc., in a dispute or conflict, etc., is subject to counseling and other disciplinary action. So my concern, I appreciate the concern the mayor voiced. Originally drafted, it said if an employee. Did not say if an official or employee. I wanted to present for council's consideration the notion that perhaps you want employees and officials to be treated in the same manner for this purpose. Remember, this is addressing social media use off duty when you're not doing your official stuff. You're at home at night doing your personal social media and you decide to take a shot at the mayor. The employee, you know, on your personal social media. The same rule, my thought being, the same rule under this policy would apply to personal email, social media of city council members that decided to do the same thing on their own personal social media. I'm trying to thread a needle like all these social media policies are doing all over the state and all over the country, where you're trying to thread the needle. No, First Amendment is not an unlimited right. You are an official or you're an employee of the city. And when you're acting in that capacity, this would impose some restrictions. So
let me ask you, so
it's for your consideration.
the first bullet point of item 1 has potential a dispute or conflict with a third party. I could post, hello, have a nice day, and people would call me sticky. That's just the way it is. So anything I post will be a potential dispute with a third party. That's just the way social media is these days, especially in the public sphere. I don't see there's any way to enforce that, and it can become it can cause more problems than it helps.
sure, I agree that if the city chose to prosecute such a thing, as that example, that would be thrown out on its ear.
I would hope so.
But I would say that this policy document, it's your decision, not mine. This policy, this document, as it's written, is not unconstitutional or violative of First Amendment.
Do you believe it's
It could be-
potentially weaponized?
It could, every statute, every ordinance you have. This, and given the social media world today, unfortunately, a lot of it's being weaponized all over the country, you know, for various purposes. So,
Do you see this as urgent, or is there enough, is it worth looking at other?
I think it's fine to keep looking at it and take, whether if you need more time,
Yeah, we just got it.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I would personally like to see this one tabled so we can do more research.
A motion that we table consent. Agenda item number 4 for the review.
Thank you. Anybody's gonna second that?
I'll second.
All in favor? Okay, unanimously been tabled. Thank you so much. Tim, thank you. Sasha, thank you. You put a lot of hard work.
No problem. I'll go back to the drawing board.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so now we've got the next consent agenda item, which is the purchasing policy. Can you tell us where this, at least where this comes from and why we're doing it?
Yes, so currently we should have a purchasing policy in place and an accounting policy in place. That is one of the things we get dinged on every year by the auditors. It has been requested since I've been here in the last 2 audits that I've done that needs to be, because I had to come and get y'all caught up real quick with the current, with the past audit, and then we did last year. So now I've actually had time to actually go out there and we had a great company. Well, Tina got a company and helped pay and sat with us. She came in, she did all the information. There you go. That's my cost. And she actually got these policy forms, because again, these are policies that we have to have for TDM. So if we ever want to go out and get some more funds or grants or anything, they wanted ASAP. They wanted it actually last year. And then purchasing policy. So it's really just procedures for each department and the rules that every city pretty much that's molded to ours for how we purchase items here, and also the accounting. It has utilities, grants. In that accounting policy, it breaks down everything by department and what needs to be done, and it's kind of like a structural rule for our city. So these two, like I said, it's for auditors, TDM, that way we don't get.
Remind us who TDM is.
It's text water development.
It was text water.
I dealt with TDM and then one, sorry. Yes, Texas Water Department wants that.
But that's not who we're talking about. That's,
No,
okay,
that's
no.
another.
So,
They're all kind of
so tell me who we're talking about.
Texas.
Water Development Board.
They're the ones that have to be asked.
Oh, that's the one too, yes.
They're the ones that have to.
That's the one too,
Does
yes.
this significantly change our what we've been doing?
No, we've actually doing it, just apparently, I guess, the last finance directors didn't actually have it put in place. So it's just something that we've been lacking for our auditors. And it's been noted on the cover page of all our audits that we've apparently had in the past. It's just never really been addressed. And this is policies that will have to get blessed before the next year, every year. So if we change something, even if we don't change something, I will bring you probably like 3 or 4 policies. The investment policy I'll just passed recently. If these pass, then every year before October, even if we don't change anything in them, that's part of my procedure. I will have to bring you those policies and you'll have to bless them again. That's just part of it.
So I guess basically what we're doing, or what you're doing or proposing to us, is filling the void that we have in our current system because there's not a policy.
Correct. And we have been
I am
meeting by the audit.
I am supportive of implementing both the purchasing and the accounting policies. And I've gone over and I don't have any big concerns. I feel like it can be like a fluid process, and if we find something that gives us a problem where it's not strict enough or it's discriminatory or whatever, we'll go in and modify.
Correct. These always can be modified. Like I said, I'm going to bring them every year. They can be modified throughout that year for the next year. And like I said, if nothing does change,
And again, y'all would just bless the policies again next year, but more than likely things change. Rules come down from the state, so things will change in each policy. One thing I do want to say is, I don't think it has anything, I can't remember word for word because they're really large policies. I think it does talk about council in there a little, so I hope everybody read, because I like it to when it puts position, a title in there, I like y'all to hopefully understand. You know, it doesn't say our names, it'll say council, it'll say finance director, it'll say city administrator, but that, to me, I plug in space.
Authority.
Yeah,
Right.
I've reviewed them.
He's reviewed them, and I had the auditors themselves review it. The auditor has adjusted the accounting policy, and then he blessed what he had changed. And then I sent it to Tim after what the auditors fixed. Tim tweaked it some more, and that's the one you're looking at currently.
So Sasha, was the purchasing policy and the accounting policy, was the origin the same? Are they, and you said there was an individual that was consulted on the purchasing policy?
Yeah, both of them. They both came
On
from,
both of them? And
yes.
And it's a paid consultant or? is
We
somebody-
didn't pay for them. Actually, the Texas Water Board paid another company.
Okay.
So they were kind enough to get all these policies up for us, and we got them free. So we got a great service thanks to the Texas Water Board. They paid his company to come in and get us up to par.
Thanks, Sasha.
So, yeah, I read the whole purchasing policy, tried to read the whole accounting policy. I
did
over
too.
there and I started doing, but kind of, no, I did a lot of good hard work, and I appreciate it. What are some questions?
I'll make a motion that we approve consent item 5 and 6, being the city of Blanco purchasing policy and city of county policy.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
This is to approve number 5 and 6, the purchasing policy and accounting policy. All in favor? Okay. Ayes have it, unanimous. Thank you so much. Yes. Okay. We're gonna bump down to items 3, 4, 5. Briefly here, I'll entertain a motion to table items 3 and 4, the change orders for the lighting and fencing. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, so since the vote is to table items 3 and 4, change orders, lighting and water treatment plant, all in favor? Okay, unanimous. Thank you. Number 5. Yes. 5, this is the engineering direction, guidance, enforcement of related complaints to the city engineer. The
Motion. I want to make a motion that we table item number 5, and I request that it be put back on the agenda as 90 days.
Thanks. Is there a second for that? Second. So the motion is to table number 5, bring it back up within 90 days. All in favor? Yes, thank you so much. Now we're getting to new business item number 1. The rezoning, this is number 12 Elm Street. Is there a staff presentation on this one?
What's that?
Is there a presentation?
Let's do it. I'm gonna do it for the city now. like-
Okay. Works for me.
All right, sorry about that. Just give me a second here. Okay, so this is a request to rezone the entire block bounded by Main, Fulcher, and Elm Street. So that's right across the Dozy. It's actually this area here. I'll explain it here. So now, it is owned by Dosters. And this is what it looks like. So most of you that drive on Main Street have noticed that there are 2 homes on Main Street. One is 2 structures. One is a kind of stucco home. And then the other one, is a therapy, office. But what most people don't know, this I didn't know, was that the house behind it on Elm Street is owned by one person. And it's, you can see that on Lincoln. So that's a little better. You can kind of see that better. So this is the entire block. And the request is to zone that whole area from R2 to R3. The reason for that is everything's existing, nothing will change. But right now, there are, like I said, a home here, another single family home here, and a therapy office right here. So if I can go backwards and forwards here. The issue is it's 22,000 square foot. And if you're actually looking at what's normally required as far as square footage in an R2 would be 11,000 square foot. And obviously 11,000 times 3 is 33,000. So you're not going to get 3 lots or 3 parcels out of the R2 district. So you can see the setbacks, you can see the size, R3 and R5 allows 6,500. The reason why I had advised the officers to look at R3s, because usually a change from R2 to R3 is less invasive than R2 to R5. That's the normal reason. So that is the real reason to look at that. But one thing I do want to let you know is, I mean, you're looking at the total rezone. You cannot just rezone one portion. So the question might be, why didn't you just do this here and not these lots? Because that would consider spots up. Spot zoning by state law and by our ordinance is not allowed. So you are supposed to do zoning in Southern Ireland. One thing I do want to mention is that nothing changes on the ground. There are 3 structures. There stays 3 structures. They will have to plat it afterward. There will be an administrative plat. So I've adequately explained this, but I'm trying to slow things a little quicker than I did last night. Planning Commission reviewed this and it's a unanimous vote to recommend approval to you. So based on the code and based on, I'm just gonna go ahead and read this real quick. So you actually have a recommendation. You have that in your packet as well. So Stephen Melissa Doster on home at 12 Elm Street, 2,000 square foot, which is a little bit more than half an acre, 22,500. R2 zoning does not fit for what they're trying to do. R3 would fit better. I do want to mention one other thing. I know you're probably going to busy here. The other thing I want to mention as well is that the 2 properties north of them are currently what we call non-conforming uses. They're smaller than what that R2 would allow. So having said that, the Planning and Zoning Commission's recommendation to you unanimously was to approve this zone change. Mr. Doster is here as well. If you'd like to speak to him. Question staff.
So effectively, it should, if they divide it up to sell what they want to sell to the tenant, they would be out of the zone. So this just allows them to sell that building to it.
It does, it allows them to fit within that zone. Also remember that would be the entire block, but it does, I wasn't here when we did the zoning the first time we did the map, but based on what I'm seeing on the ground, not what's platted, but what I'm seeing on the ground, R3 is definitely sport.
Any questions?
Yes, sir. They're current zoning on R2, was that changed in 2022 R2? Was that
I think it got changed on November 30th, 21.
21? Gotcha. Well, along with a whole bunch of other.
Yeah,
zones.
I didn't know that. I should have done this before then, we would be.
Remember back then, I wasn't here for that. Remember there was an R zoning. I don't think you had 1, 2, 3, and 4. So you had that residential zoning, and then you just break out 1, 2, 3, 4.
So before this change, this probably would have been allowed. Anyway.
It may happen, yes. But what I can say, I wasn't here back then, what I can say is R3 zoning more closely reflects what's actually physically on the ground. And I think the youngest building, I think, is the one that's now therapy building, which Courtney Blanco has at least 2004. So these are called homes or buildings that have been here for at least 20 or about 20 or better.
None of the other neighbors will be blocked out. Complaints about that.
Yes.
I don't know, pardon me, by my calculation, even after rezone for R3, a fourth building cannot be added. There wouldn't be enough.
Not even a fence.
That's correct. No other lot can be added.
I think R3 makes sense, but I also want to consider R5, which has nearly identical lot standards as R3, but it would also allow light commercial on the space, which would bring the physical therapy compliance. There's already R5 around there. It's called Main Street, so it seems like maybe there should be some shops allowed. I guess one downside of that is that if your neighbor sells now, that would be so I didn't know what you guys thought of that.
I find that to be an interesting idea, but we did notice the public for R3, is that correct?
Yeah, I want to just do a little cleanup here. So when Councilmember Swenson says it is possible, the only issue is that if you did decide to do that, it would delay us probably, my place 2 months ago. I think we're too late to do notice for October because it takes about 25 days to do notification. So if you did that and you decided you wanted to do that, I'm not saying it isn't saying that it wouldn't work, but it would offer at least a 1 to 2 month delay.
Is there an issue with them conducting business there under R3 as they are now?
Not according to the county, we've always been paid taxes as a small business.
Yeah, no, I understand.
Yeah, so one of the things we're gonna have to do is we're gonna have to listen to non-conforming use. I'm, again, when I got here, I only code enforced things that were here as I got here, not conforming. So it wouldn't be able, that therapy office would not be allowed in an R3. So from the standpoint of what would be the best fit, R5 would be, but the only other reason why I didn't offer that to the doctors is because that's a bigger leap than you're talking about having offices and having restaurants. So if that's what the council wanted, that would fit, but we're probably going to look at either special use permit or grandfathering them under that. So we have to look at vested rights, but R5 would fit more, but at the same time, there's not a perfect situation here. That's why I was suggesting R5.
And I know they've already been waiting very long.
Given the consideration that the applicant applied to change from R2 to R3, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the rezone of the entire block bound by a main Fulcher and Elm Street and the alley to the north from R2 to R3.
I second that motion.
More discussion? All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Excellent. Thank you, Warren. Moving on. This is concept plan to Blanco River Run subdivision lots 4 and 5. Okay, Oscar, no, you have to wait. You have to stay for the whole meeting. Appreciate it. Yes.
Thank you, Mayor. Other residents. The next plot is the next agenda item. Michael River Run subdivision, plat lots 4 and 5, the Weber subdivision. try to explain. So we got submitted to staff as a preliminary final together, but there really is clear guidance on how to do a preliminary plat. They qualify under what we call a concept plan, which is essentially a preliminary plat. So, having reviewed that, got it back in probably July 20, so looked at it, we are reviewing the drainage plan, reviewing all the stuff for the final, but this is just for concept plan. So what they're doing is.
And so for context, this is downtown water plant.
Correct, this is down by the water plant. I'll go ahead and show you, I'm gonna have a,
There was in one corner, there was a tiny map showing.
maybe, yeah, let's see, let's get that.
Yeah.
Better, sorry about that.
It's okay.
That's really pretty good. But it's right across from the water, it's on this one.
Yeah, just not past it yet.
Okay, so I'm gonna start off with what it actually is gonna look like on the plan. So it will be a subdivision of 2 lots, 4 and 5, that will become 6 lots. There's an existing home here. There's a shared driveway. My understanding would be 2 shared driveways. And then there are 5 lots. It is R1 zoning. I'm gonna go ahead and show you. There's one right here. I know where I'm going here. Okay, R1. R1 is 1 unit, 1 acre, or 32,500, which basically means that 32,500 there you can streets and things like that. But it has its minimum lot size of 32,500. It's 100 lot with minimum. And then you have front yards of 40 foot, 25 foot minimum backyard, 15 foot minimum side yard. So I'm going to explain how this still needs to work. So I'll show this to you again. That's 100 foot, that's 100 foot, that's 100 foot, that's 100 foot, and then these 2 lots are not. Okay. So this area here is what we call a half cul-de-sac, or in the UDC, it's described as a eyeball. Weird name.
It's a shaded area.
Yeah, it's a shaded area. And then this, let me see if I'm. Yeah, okay. I'll go ahead. You have a packet, but I like to kind of be a little more visual. Under table 5.2, cul-de-sac or eyebrow minimum lot frontage is 45 foot. So they created an eyebrow, dedicated it on the plat, met the minimum width of putting in a 45. That's also why it didn't just come to staff, why I had to come to you as well, because they are dedicating right away. And dedicating right away, by law, it has to come to council to accept it. The administrator can't accept it. So, I'm gonna go back to the plat. So you kind of, that's the original plat. That's the original plat in the blue. That's what it looks like on the ground, and this is what the plat actually looks like, the actual concept plan. So it meets all the requirements as a concept plan. You'll see the final plat next month if you approve it today. But it meets all the requirements as far as minimum lot size, basically shared driveways, just want to explain. And council to the planning commission last night reviewed it. Go ahead and just read the staff report. But the P&Z recommended approval of the concept plan to city council by a vote of 4-2. Questions of staff or I believe the developer slash owner Johnny Stepp is here. If you have any questions.
I've got a question. All right, we're dedicating a right of way, correct? For the highway.
Yes,
Yes.
yes,
And we're dedicating it to the city.
dedicated, they're dedicated.
They're dedicating it to the city, it's a county road. That's not a city street.
Over the right of way, just off the side of it.
It will be city right away.
I understand right away to the city boundary, but it's a county road. It's a county road. That's my question.
The question is what?
So we have a county road and a city right, right?
Yes,
So the county maintains that road. And the city will maintain that right of way.
that's correct.
Okay.
And there'll be a 1-year acceptance. We've done that before on other subdivisions. If we get 1-year acceptance, so, you know, I'm not thinking there's gonna be a lot of issues with an eyebrow or half cul-de-sac, but the city would accept it within a year. We'll just walk through and make sure it's correct.
And there's no reason we have to have county in front.
No.
Okay. That's just a question.
And that is advantageous to accept that because
I don't know if it's advantageous, but I think they meet all the requirements, of the local jurisdiction of our UDC. And state law says, local government 212, that if it meets all the requirements of your local jurisdiction, it's shall approve. So on the planning sense, it's a shall approve.
no, I understand.
It's advantageous, I'm not into that.
Why couldn't the cul-de-sac remain privately owned?
Well, because, and I'm gonna
This is an honest question, but I don't know.
If that, in my opinion, and I wasn't expecting that question, that's a private road or a private cul-de-sac, then that they would not meet the requirements of the eyebrow to make it 45 foot. And so what they've done, which is very, very smart, what they've done is creating this eyebrow, they have given themselves another one.
And they would be responsible for the paving of that.
They will be responsible for the construction of the road, but we would have to accept it and they would take within a year to maintain it.
Any more questions, comments? Thank you. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the concept plan for the 6th lot on River Run.
Your second.
I'll second.
No discussion. The motion is to approve item number 2, concept plan. All in favor? Unanimous. I like it. Very good. Thank you so much. Congratulations, y'all.
Next month.
We've already dealt with items 3, 4, and 5, so moving down to number 6. Then just please get.
Oh,
Yes, I did, sir. You get a copy? You get a copy?
Yeah.
So what I want to say is that tonight's recommendation for the fee schedule kind of started with several council members, including the mayor, wanting to look at the fee schedule and kind of doing some cleanup items, and then also looking at ways to make it simpler. I don't know if I've written necessarily make it simpler. We did have to do something. We did take some items out. My expectation, or as a staff expectation, is not to approve tonight. There are a couple opportunities, to review tonight, his suggestions, through the next meeting, special meeting on October. A couple of months for that. This is one of those, I in front of you, I only did it yesterday, but here are the additions you want to go through them, or you want to start with. Okay, all right, we'll go on by line. So, yeah, I'm gonna put a hold on here. Go ahead and talk about some of these. Some of these are just ideas that staff talked about, just to kind of get it all moving. So, if you look at A2 schedule rates and changes, we're looking at residential service for trash service, and currently charge residents $14.51, and commercial rate of $19.35 per can. Just to throw it out, because we get a 18%, about 18% increase in utility. I just put it on there 20%. That is to just start looking at that. So that was the first one. 10%, 5% more. This is just a start.
How does that compare to what it costs us?
It costs us right now, I think I was just looking at it, $12, and residential, I don't remember exactly what commercial was, but I want to say it was about 14 something, so.
That's what we pay the trash company.
That's what we pay the trash company. There's a CPI attached to the next year, that's what we.
And is there not a percentage tacked onto it for administrative?
There is, yes, there is. So for example, right now, there's about a $2 administrative fee that's attached to it.
And we just vetted this contract last year, last 6 months ago, it's not like last year.
March.
Yes, yeah.
So this sector of the enterprise fund, this is paying for itself, right?
This is paying for itself. Again, some of these items are just ways to put some black, more on black for enterprise and for general. So if it's something you don't want, then you don't have to do it. It's just.
I appreciate the suggestion. Because we are raising water rates already, I will say I would be hesitant to raise garbage at this time, because this is self-sustaining at this
It
moment.
is self-sustaining, and we probably.
But that's just my opinion.
I think we should check with the CPI, when we get the CPI increase on that. Agree with that?
I'm going to the next page. So unfortunately, Daniel's not here tonight. Let's see, off today, not feeling well. A lot of these next items are issues with Infomark and the costs for different things. So I'm gonna try to do the best I can. Some of them fall within the cost it takes for them to actually do the work versus the annoyance part. But you'll understand. So backflow prevention, so temporary service connect, disconnect. Dana's recommendation right now is $20. And he's asking for 50 based on the cost. And sometimes disconnects happen with people on paying. This is one of those annoyance fees of we're trying to curb certain types of, I don't say behavior, but certain types of behavior for people not paying. Those sort of things. His suggestion is 20.
Based on what he calculates the manual hours to service.
And certainly, we can talk about this more when he comes back. A lot of these have to do with.
One other quick question. So is that fee charged both to disconnect and to connect, or is it only charged once? So if somebody doesn't pay their bill, do you?
It's charged one time.
One time, just making sure that one on disconnection.
It's one time.
This is one of those areas where if somebody didn't pay their bill, I'm guessing they are economically distressed. $50 is, to me, a reasonable sum. He hesitant on that, so
Well, then you've got to reconnect these.
I almost didn't get my water bill paid on
In what cases are you allowed to sell this? Like if I go on vacation for a month, can I get it turned off? And then like $20 off just with availability.
For a month, I think if you do for 3 or 4 months, I think you normally do that. I don't know if it makes sense to do that for a month.
My impression was we were getting away from the ability to do that. Everybody has to pay the availability fee every month, whether they're connected or not. If they want, am I incorrect? Can't just cut your water off. Yeah, I thought we moved it to. I didn't think so. I thought we were moving it. That was gonna be the case.
I think that was the intention. I know. That's why I want to make sure it lines up with.
Okay.
Or at least we just.
So the answer, I'm not gonna be back to you. I actually don't. Yeah, I mean, and again, tonight is just gonna go through these as quick as we can, and then we'll come back next couple of times. And we'll mention it. Tonight, I don't think we don't want to do that.
And again, with those new meters, that we would not be able to remotely disconnect.
No.
So these dollars are really based on what it's gonna cost us to get crew out there to do.
It really is. Someone has to physically go out there. and connect with her. It's all like 10 seconds.
Yeah, I'm putting a question mark by that for me.
Backflow prevention tests, that's usually done by the fire marshal. So all I put on here is small full cost. So we're going to come up with a full cost. Some of these things are going to be things that we actually don't do ourselves. Gee, this is gonna be more helpful. We'll get back to that. Transfer fee was $20. It would be $25. Again, these are suggestions. I would expect you to come back and give me suggestions later on. The meter accuracy check is $50, and that means that someone has to go in and actually check the accuracy of the meter.
That's actually a big job. They pull it up and they run a certified water and put it back. That's actually happening. So
But again, is that applicable with the new meters?
Somebody's complaining about it getting too high, one check. I mean, I guess the check has to be customer initiated.
This is customer initiated, it's not the-
But if you didn't tell the meter's faulty, they shouldn't have to pay for that, should they?
If we request it, if there's something wrong with the meter, we own the meter, that's our issue. We would not charge that, that's a customer.
But if the customer requests it and it ends up that the meter's totally whacked out, they shouldn't have to pay that the city's faulty meter.
Well, I agree, and that's why the city administrator can actually.
Again, we're about to install brand new meters because they're gonna be fantastically accurate, right? So.
So they may be questioned, okay.
So what I didn't mention is we haven't actually looked at this in about 3.5 years, so, I don't expect these schedule every year. So, yes, you're correct, I mean, you need new meters early, let's say January, February next year, you're probably not gonna have a meter problem first year or two, but, 3 or 4 years from now. Okay, reconnection fees for non-payment. We're talking about a disconnect fee, this will be the reconnection fee, 30 to 50. So it's just a suggestion from me, so we can just take a look at that, think about whether you like that or not, that's too high. I'm not paying. Non-payment. The next 2 items are not in Infomark's contract. The grease trap application fee, for inspecting grease traps and I don't know, for right now, I think we want to look at what that costs. But it's not a good cost. I think right now it's 65 to 75. Next one, water sewer rate implementation, just passed an ordinance, so that's why I took that out. So that was the new rate order. And again, so yeah, so that would be start to take place in October. Hydrant meters. So I know right now we're not doing bulk rates, but the one thing that Dave and I discussed was right now is $7 per 1,000 gallons. That is, we're allowed bulk. Again, you know, we're not doing that right now, but $7 was. Council mentioned this before, it's still, we wanted you to think about if you charge a typical customer that coming in trucks, $15 to $25 per 1,000. And something you have to think about.
Well, I mean, at 7, it would be less than we're gonna be charging customers with meters at this point when we have the rate change.
So I'm more along the one, so mine's going to charge 15 or 15. That's why we put 15 to 25 for you to kind of think about. We're gonna come back to it. We do much. And again, if you see something that I would suggest, and you kind of read through this next couple of weeks, I want you to say, look at this or that. What I will say is most of the plan review, most of that type of stuff, a lot of this type of things are already relatively solid, and that's what we're getting into. Okay, so one of the things that we talk about staff is that the fees should not be something that the city ends up, if someone's requesting something, whether it's a plating fee or a drainage fee, something like that, especially if staff doesn't review it and we have to sub it out to an engineer or something else. We want to make sure we're not losing money. So on number, it's 5, I guess it's 6B, and this is talking about when an on-site retention for drainage review, it currently is basically $2,000 when on-site retention. Oh, I'd like to change it to fee is the cost of city engineers costs plus 10% for administrative fee. And the reason for that is you know, it could be that you get $3,000 or $4,000 bill. The city shouldn't absorb the cost of development.
Would the developer be given an estimate up front?
Yes. Yeah. Well, depends, so it depends on the size. For example, if it's a 5-lot subdivision, like one we just saw, that's not that much. But something like 30 or 40, 20 could, multiple lots, reserves could cost. And also some floodplain.
And Warren, is it safe to say that what you're trying to do here is that we would never, the city should never lose money on these?
That's correct. Yeah. If you go to another page, it's gonna be, also our floodplain development. This is base fee $800, include the maximum 4 hours of review time. Again, but it was fees and the cost of the city engineer was 10% administrative. Did not really specifically require building inspections because that is all. Because that's all by contract. A couple more pages through development plan review and subdivision fees, preliminary plan plats, and I put in a concept plan because there is no preliminary plat. As you know, there's cut and pasting when it came to the C and when it came to our fee structure.
So is that like the
River Run concept plan. Most cities would be a preliminary plat, but we don't have. It talks about it, but actually no mechanism for.
So for the work that you did reviewing that, they gave $1,250.
That's correct. That's not is what it is. Next, Tier 1 drainage analysis review. And it says base fee $750. Again, fees cost is the cost of the city's engineer plus potential administrative fee. And the same thing with the tier 2 drainage analysis review. It's $1,500. And how do we know exactly what it's going to be? And this was probably done a few years ago. So I wanted the cost of city engineer plus potential administrative. Yes, we can make sure that we do an estimate. We can say that yes, we need to slow.
Weren't all the items stated that way are, they're including it'll change.
They'll change based on profit. You know, and also, for example, if you're next to the Blanco River, which is just big having, you know, just dry land, it's a lot of that has to do with how close to the river, your floodway, things like that makes more sense. Could be more sense.
And are there any other cities that operate that way where the fee structure is not set?
Yeah, I mean, my experience is more in the Gold Coast, so places like Carroll, City of Houston does that. You know, places around here, right? Place, but there are some variable fees. Usually the engineering type stuff, but the building plans, that kind of thing, those kind of things are set. Okay. Public Works Department, again, when we need to, I'm gonna make sure. Water cap charges. Water service connection inside the city will be, so this is for the connection, $1,200, and he's requesting $1,500. Current cost, the actual physical actual parts. So for what we call short cap. So we are actually losing money right now on doing caps.
Educate me the difference between short term and long term.
I don't know if it's really.
So basically, if the water line is on one side of the road and shore line.
Okay. Depends on side of the road.
That makes sense. Thank you.
So it's a short.
So the long tap saying I get 2,000, and then outside the city 2,550. And you could also say so we're losing money. Same thing with sewer. You want to change that with sewer as well. 1,200 to 1,500. Same thing with sewer tax. Sewer tax 1,260. So we're losing $60 right now. So essentially, water tap and sewer tap are the same structure. Apparently, one time we used to be water, I have a standpipe, we don't water to that out. City well, bulk water, we took that out as well. Do that. Hydrant, meter, relocation fee, a lot of that being one. Say. Broken meter lid is $35 and the $50 is. I'm gonna let you know. Administrator Shan Wine company. I always try to look at it from the customer standpoint. So if there's any time it might be our fault, we waive it. But in this particular case, it's pretty. You know, these lids get expensive and they get cracked and broken. Sometimes things that.
Will the new meters have new meter markers, and will it take to have a different type lid? Typically, but I don't know, I haven't been involved with that. Some of them have a transmitter on.
I'll have to get back to you on that. We're gonna have that meeting on next Tuesday. So
If we're gonna adjust it, we need to adjust it.
well, first of all, we're probably not gonna approve this till next week.
I'd like that.
So the question was a new lid, a new box, that's what you're asking, there's a new
I would think,
Meters, yeah.
There's a question here for a traffic barricade deposit. We removed that. Provide a traffic barricade. With traffic management, that will get cheap. But we're not going to charge for it. We'll need to talk about that. Let's go. So that I'm putting the helmet on, we'll talk about this, right? Okay. The traffic code deposits, we'll talk about that too. I don't like the chief man. Water tower rental fees for communication. So all I'm putting on here is I need to look at those contracts and make sure they're all up to date. So I don't know if we're up to date on that. Next one, Scale Springs infrastructure fee. And the reason why I put mines through it is that no longer applies. So, you know, what they have been paying $20 infrastructure fee, which is $15, and then for repairs, $5 for the standard fee for replacement. But because we were having a structure that's $16.12 for anybody outside the city, that infrastructure fee is not applied. Okay, so the reason why I wrote in the garage sale permit is because we've seen in other areas where there's a garage sale permit and we've charged before $50. I believe that a couple of times. We want to reduce that to $5. And then for keeping livestock, my understanding is that goes away because cover loose animal ordinance.
And Warren, under the garage sale permit, which I think is a good move, if we're gonna have feed it all, we might add a second category of estate sale.
Okay.
They can generate thousands or tens of thousands of dollars one weekend. And I know when I was running a few of them here in town, I came to the city to ask about permits, and I was told I didn't have to pay the permit because it was an estate sale on the garage sale. So I got off free.
So the reason why I didn't have any permit for a garage sale or an estate sale, if there ends up being it was just good to know that there is one.
Yeah, I'm not.
I've never made more than $80 or $90 on a garage sale. I did myself, so I think 50 is kind of prohibitive.
I agree. I'm not objecting to a non-multi. But you might add another category for estate sale, and that might be it should be a higher amount.
And on the estate sales, the problems we've had is they use someone's house that's not, you think of an estate sale as you're selling all the property in that house, but I've seen commercial businesses where they truckload stuff into someone's house and call it an estate sale. So we wind up with a lot of signage and traffic and truck issues because of that. So just when you think about the permits for that, differently than garage sales, it can be very different.
It's called a salted sale.
Is that what it is?
So if you have further questions of me, send me an email. Kind of sounded like some of these questions. This looks like this will probably go to the next regular meeting in October, and then we can probably get this finalized then, unless you really want to finalize it. Thanks, sir. Thank you, Warren. Yes, take table, please.
On your table, motion to table. So moved. Second on table. Okay. Motion to table has been seconded. All in favor? All righty. Thank you. Warren, you're back up again. Take possible action on rescinding of acceptance of the gift of land. Possible city hall on Elm Street.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor. Representatives from Quantico. So, let's say it was in November or December of 2021, city had been made an offer from Martha and Matt Curtin for a 1 acre piece of property on Elm Street for a Costin City Hall. there was an acceptance from the city, but it wasn't legally accepted. It was like, an acceptance and, what they're requesting, that's here, probably probably better than me, second, it's asking that we rescind that acceptance, so that it clears the title or allows, basically, to move on, with whatever they're gonna do. And what's happened since then is that they relooked at where we would like our city hall. I think there's other options that we, more accepted by the community or what the council thinks are better options than that. Is that right? Isn't it? Yeah, do you have questions of staff or do you have questions of, sir?
Staff's recommendation
Is to rescind the acceptance of the winder.
I guess, just want to clear it up, what it is, about 2 years ago, there was a concept plan, and it was a package deal with kind of development districts, and back then it was a motion by, well, it says motion made by Councilman Barron to accept the generous donation of property at Elm Street, with the city manager to begin whatever actions are necessary to move forward. We tried to move forward on some of those actions, and P&Z was adamant about a traffic analysis. We looked at several different engineers for traffic analysis, and almost to the man, they said the project wasn't large enough for them, and it would possibly basically too prohibitive for them to come down to my level. I'm kind of glad, we did it another way. I picked up the idea to initially get the city council to get a better location. And I think what you're doing is a great idea. Go over there to the old firehouse and renovate it, because obviously tonight, you can see the room house everybody. So we need that desperately. So I take credit for that. We kind of kick that off a little bit. What this letter does that you got from our attorney, it basically tells you that the street failed and we're not going to do anything with our property. We were just going to help the city. And so we're just going back to keeping the thing under A and keep the aid coming in to the board. Do you have any questions that you're glad to answer?
We sure appreciate your generosity.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
No further questions or discussion, I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we rescind the acceptance of the gift of land for possible city hall or on Elm Street.
I'll second.
Further discussion, and all in favor? Passes unanimously. Very good, thank you so much. Okay, consideration, discussion, take possible action, approval of complete market analysis on city surplus property. Okay, so we've discussed looking at city surplus properties and what they may be worth, what we could liquidate those. Two specifically that have bubbled up are the 9.5 acres approximately on Lake Vista Estates, and then the Cherry Street lot, which is sitting at you. Nice. We store our Christmas decorations there. We can't store our other CR.
I'm not saying that we can't, but that's what we do.
Yeah, no, there's no big compelling overwhelming need to sell the Cherry Street lot if we have a potential use for it eventually, but that neighborhood could use a boost. Did sell that, somebody came and built some nice houses there and have elevated that neighborhood. The lot, the 9.5 acres, just sitting there.
And so the market analysis doesn't mean that the council has to do anything. It's just giving myself and the mayor the authority to go ahead and do the market analysis, bring it back to council, look at different options. So knowledge is never a bad thing. in my opinion. So if that's something the council wishes to do, we can get started on getting some pricing.
Well, I actually had just while we were preparing this to get a ballpark price, what it would cost to do market analysis on these two. I approached a broker, McKinsey, and he just went ahead and did it. So he did a lot of research on it. He said it's not worth it in the bill. So instead of giving an estimate, he just did a rough market. We could dive deeper. There were some options on Cherry Street on if we subdivided, et cetera. But the 9.5 acres, it was unearthed. The talk had always been deed restrictions that it can't be subdivided, it has to be residential. And we actually found that deed restriction was officially waived for us. So that property is considerably more valuable. Doug's estimate was between 50 and 60,000 an acre as it sits right now on that property.
That's almost 9 acres.
9.5.
Okay, so you're saying, I'm not familiar with the term market analysis. What's the difference in a market analysis and a rate of license correction?
One is not a official appraisal. It's just a broker looks at, the deed restrictions, looks at what, comps and says, this is what I think we ordered for this appraiser. Depth, and if we want to get appraised, it'd be a higher price.
And I'm curious, Mayor, or wanting to answer this question. I don't know, I'm probably not privy to all the properties the city owns.
I don't think the city is pretty good, but we're still trying to develop a final list. But
Numerous beyond these two.
yeah,
These two obviously bubbled up for a reason.
they're not being eaten.
Oh, okay, is that purely what we're basing it on? These are the two properties that the city is.
These are the two, well, 9.5 acres used to be used as a bird site. Infomark doesn't operate firm models. And of course, I have the time under a burn ban anyway. I would say that the Cherry Street old Public Works barn is underutilized.
Yes.
It's utilized. It's
I agree.
underutilized. So that's the reason that.
So, and the thought, and the big picture is, being unused, those are basically assets sitting on the books. We have some needs here that we can take care of. Quite potentially, we could see the rock wall project, which is necessary. We could actually fill a pocket of town and still put a good chunk into savings that would improve our credit rating. Just with the 9.5 acres. Those things.
My thought on that is that this is an asset that we've got. And, it may not be on the books at the market value or whatever. If we convert that into cash, I'd prefer to see the monies go into our reserves and not cover up the operating.
There may be, again, some repairs, some things like that rock wall, which is not an operating event. Sort of one time. We can cross that bridge when we get there.
Yeah, we
Right.
go, I mean, that's just my opinion. Sure. So, but I am on the, so you have an estimate or you have a broker's opinion on the value on the 9 point?
Correct. He said with the deed restrictions being modified when we purchased the property, when we acquired it, we have that official legal document saying those deed restrictions don't apply to us. It can be used commercially. He said 50 to 60,000 acres, what is.
And that provision and the removal, I guess, my question would be, would that,
It's transferable, yeah.
it is
From the
transferable.
way I read it, yeah, we get.
You know what, Chuck, it's real easy to find out.
Yeah, you know.
I mean, it is what it is. So
We just want to do a little more research. This is just authorizing us to do a little bit for research and bring it back.
is it an action item or?
Um,
I'd like to know, I'm interested, I'd like to know more. And before I approve it, my disposition of the funds would be something I give consideration to.
yeah.
Well, that's what I wondered. Is there any policy in place? Is there anything that would dictate how we would use funds from disposing of city assets?
Not part of the bond then.
So we just throw a party?
Well,
Sorry,
So I would say when I come to you every year for surplus, I believe it would be the same legal thing, just that the council has to approve the manner in which it can be disposed, but not what the funds are used for.
So we had to cross that bridge when we get there. I know you guys either pick a broker or you can do an auction. You simply dispose it, we haven't crossed that bridge. So
So remember though, if you do get funds, it's kind of answering the question a little bit, if we do get additional funds, then you're gonna probably have to do a budget amendment to reflect those funds, especially if you want them to go to certain. So if you're just gonna put it aside, as savings, then I don't get a budget amendment. If you want $1,000 here, 40,000 here, or whatever, you're not gonna budget amendment to that. So you're gonna have some control over how it's spent or how it's not spent.
Right. So Tim, I don't think we need action. I'm just council consent to dig a little deeper and come back to the report.
I don't think it really is. It's pretty much already
Yes, target it, take the temperature here. Yeah.
bring it back, all ready to bring it back.
So any more comments, questions?
It's just one because it came to me from a member of the community. Both sites apparently have at least one well apiece on them. Is that right?
Yes, they do. Small well on 9.5. My understanding was just used for fire protection for that
It's
file.
pretty ultimate.
And I don't know what the GPMs are on that, and then there's obviously there's a cistern on Cherry Street, but it's not a working well. I mean, it's, I don't know how much.
Would an analysis of that be part of what we're looking at here? Or we feel like we already have the data?
That is out there, we can pull it in.
We have to pull it in.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Moving on. Sasha, you're up. Administrative work schedule.
I'm not gonna start.
Oh, okay.
I don't think that's your too much, but so one of the things that we try to do with staff, Sasha and I work on, and looking at some different things. And so we started looking at a modified, what we call modified work schedule. Part is to modify it, to make, help have the staff retention, and then also to make sure that we're also providing the same level of service to the residents that we always have. It starts to stay competitive with other cities. She started looking at different things that they've done, and what we kind of come across something called a 980. And a 980 schedule basically is that right now it's 8 to 5 work with an hour break, which is 8 hours times 5, which is 40 in 2 weeks instead of 8 hours. So 980 would be 9 hours, 4 days a week from Monday through Thursday, and on Friday it'd be 8. Next week it'll be 9 hours from Monday through Thursday with Friday off. And that would actually be 8 hour work, which would be every other Friday off, and it would be staggered so that we have teams that would do one Friday off, and then the next team would have the other. The reason to do that is again retention, but also maybe not as big a deal with Blanco, but for a lot of communities is to take the car off the road, which helps with gas, which helps with finances, and also helps with traffic. So having said that, I think this is a very minor way to help provide a benefit that the workers didn't have before. So you have something you can kind of show them kind of what that would look like?
It's in their packet. I created a calendar for 1 month, kind of showing you, how I divided up the teams. There was logic behind the teams and how I divided up. Everybody, since I've been here, my main thing is to cross-train. You never know. We only have 5 people technically in that building besides Warren, but I just.
And I don't
And he
participate.
doesn't participate, so I'm just talking, and there's 6 of us, yeah, but there's 5 of us that still most of the time with the customers and the residents outside. So my logic was definitely get everybody cross-trained. So everybody's cross-trained, everybody has access to everything on FundView. if this does pass, I will do this month of tweaking and refreshing their memory on everybody's job. The main thing is, like I said, I'm the HR, so I go to HR conferences, I get blasted on the HR thing. This is, not a new thing. It really exploded when COVID happened. That is when it was, but it's always kind of been there for probably, as far as I know, at least 10 years back, with cities that I know of. So, but COVID really made it blow up to where you go remote. I actually did, they do surveys all the time for HR, you know, about raises and anything benefit wise that gets blasted across. I constantly get blasted. Cities are now bold. They just put out there, I need a police chief. I need a city administrator. I need, hey, if you have one, send me one. Well, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to take my staff and here you go. You can have them. They're great. I don't want to do that. I want to keep them. I like my staff. So Lago Vesta just switched from 5 days a week. Now they do 4 days, Monday through Thursday, and they close their doors on Friday. They're not even open to the residents. Well, I didn't want to take away our customer service, our residents. I didn't want to do that. So, and like, I have a ton of them here. Leon Valley, I used to work for them, okay? The administration portion, like the department heads and the city manager, we all did 4/10s. I always had Friday off. It was great. But what about the rest of the staff? You got utilities, you got all the other clerks and things like that. They work 8 to 5. So that's not really fair. Your higher ups get Fridays off and everybody else has to just suck it up and go to work. Again, I worked there. I was one of the ones who got off Friday. It was great. But again, the rest of the staff, they didn't do that. Dripping Springs, they are actually 9 to 5, and then they let some of their staff, depending, each department kind of makes their own schedules for their departments. They actually let some of their people do 2 days remote in a week. Other departments let them have flex schedules. They come up with a group schedule for their department. So a lot of them have remote now. Bernie does remote. They do compressed hours, and a lot of departments in Bernie are actually going 4/10 now. So to me, that anytime you say 4/10, that means we're taking away from the residents. We're not giving them their customer service. So like I said, when I created this and I gave you an example of it, we're all cross-trained, but I made sure that me and Lori are the department heads in that building, not County Warren, we're the department heads. So if Lori's out that Friday, that's her Friday down, you can guarantee I'm gonna be there. If I'm off, then you know Lori's gonna be there. And I had to kind of, we have 2 ladies up front. We have a utility and a court clerk. Well, to me, that's customer service. That's who you see when you first come in. If one of them's out, the other one has to be there. So I made teams. That's why it looks the way the names I put out there. I didn't just say, well, these 2 get along better. I didn't care who gets along. That's obsolete. I want to make sure we keep for our citizens the customer service we have and make sure that our team and our staff is, you know, trained across the board. So if one of those members is out that Friday, because it's their Friday, that we can step up and still cover whatever the customer or the resident needs. So that's to keep the retention and keep up with these larger cities that we're never going to be able to compete with. I'm never going to be able to give them the salaries that you can go somewhere else, the great remote work. I can't provide them any of that. But if I can provide them something, because they see it, other cities, she has a city secretary group, they all talk to each other. They know what they're doing. And like I said, I'm finance and HR. I know they blast out all the time. Hey, I want your person. No, I'm not. Other cities might do that, but I'm not going to do that. So I'm trying to do this for retention and to definitely keep the doors open for our residents so we can keep that customer service going. And it keeps us fresh and cross-trained because you never know. We're such a small staff that maybe something hopefully never happens, but some tragic happens to one of us. Well, we need everyone to step up and fill in those shoes. So this is also to help us keep our minds fresh.
I appreciate and also the focus on customer service is very good. Yeah, question.
How does that affect lunches? Is everybody still taking out?
Everybody, okay, so your Monday through Thursday, I still per law have to give them lunches. Can't beat other lunches, but I can get you down to 30-minute lunches because I don't want the staff coming in really early or really late, but coming in early a little bit to help get prepared to open the
So
doors and be
7:30 to
ready.
5.
7:30 to 5, and you get half an hour lunch. That way they can get ready
So
for the customer.
We're cutting down half hour lunch.
Correct.
And we're coming in, I guess, can you stay late or is it just?
Yeah. You can stay, I mean, sometimes it might happen. I'm trying to make it where we all leave still at 5, the doors shut at 5. But you know, sometimes it's gonna be a hiccup or something, they had a flat tire on the way in, well then that happens. I'm gonna let them stay there 30 minutes after because they had to get a tire.
For 7:30, you get more done in the morning.
Yes.
So if Haley, the court clerk, for instance, is off on Friday, does somebody else have access to that software? Because it's a different software, right?
It's all in front of you and I have access to it. I know how to do court, Teresa, my admin, she has court access. Like I said, if I'm not there, then Teresa's gonna be there, of course, because I had to correlate all this, and so definitely somebody will have access to every modular and know how to do it.
Haley's been out sick the last couple, or her son's been out sick the last couple of days, and we've had some people come
They
in
have
and
people, they need to pay
and
their
doctors
tickets,
like help
they got
them.
questions, well, I'm there, so I got front to take care of it.
Is this something that's optional? Can employees choose to do this or choose not?
But before we actually put this together, you know, I didn't just come up with this. Being HR, you listen and we're so close, you don't have to listen very hard. So they were already suggesting things like that, because again, they're here from other cities have all these wonderful things that I can't offer, and I don't want to mess up the customer service. So I said, okay, and I got with Warren, and we came up with a plan, and then that's how we kind of rolled this out. But if you ask, I think Rodney came in today, and he asked staff, not myself, but
So staff came to you basically.
staff came to me, and I'm just here to implement because that's part of the HR side of me is to do that. So definitely, like Rodney came in today and asked staff, and
I asked every member of staff except for Haley who was out sick.
she's one of the ones who have.
Because I was curious, maybe there was somebody who would. It's hard to.
And that's why,
If they don't want to for a 2-week period, they can just come in.
yes, if something happens and they start to do it and it's just too much coming in at 30 minutes early or whatever, then they can come to me and say, hey, I'm gonna veto out and go back to normal. That is perfectly fine. Because right now I got an odd number, that's why you see that kind of schedule like that. So if one wants to veto out, that's fine. If I have so many that start to veto out, then we'll squash it. But right now, everybody's behind it 100%, the whole staff. That's listed on.
I love it. I work for a place that has not this exact, but similar policies, and it's amazing for retention and morale.
Well, and I think came from a generation earlier.
It's one.
Generation of the bull, okay. But I think if retention is something now that is prevalent, and I think what Sasha indicated, it's hard for us to be competitive in the more attractive we can make our positions for our staff, then I think it's a benefit to the citizens, to our city. And I want to make a motion that we approve the implementation of the 90/80 for a 6-month trial period. I want to be able to come back and look at it in 6 months. If the shoes don't fit, we'll have to get a new pair. But if it cross our fingers, and so that's what I'm.
Or how many?
6 months. We get it 6 months. If the wheels start coming off before then somebody will come running back to council. But if everybody's happy and it's accomplishing what we wanted to do, then I'm totally.
I second the motion.
Okay, further discussion?
I don't have any data on it, but I've said this before, but I did reach out to some of my more conventionally successful friends who run businesses and have offices, and that number works in the office. And yeah, you would love that. But they all seem to think it's a good idea. So.
The motion and second are to approve the work schedule structure for a 6-month trial period. All in favor? Yes, excellent. Final item new business is the water company mediation. And the
Chuck, do you want to take this into executive session and come back out on it? Because it is listed. We talk about it a little bit more in executive session and come back, and we do need to vote on it in public, but maybe we discuss some of the.
I know some people would, could we do just a preliminary, some people want to leave, and so they want to hear what's going on, and we can discuss it further.
Sure. Well, I'll just, without getting way into the weeds of what this thing says, we'll talk about it a little bit more. As all of you know, July 13th, the infamous, stage 6 rationing date that arose because of issues between the city and Texas Water Company's allocation or supply of water. As a result of all the events that revolved around that date, that circumstance, we demanded mediation with them, as we are allowed to do under a current memorandum of understanding we have in place with them. That mediation occurred on September 5th. I'm happy to say that the Mayor Pro Tem, and our chair of the Capital Infrastructure Committee, O.J. Armstrong, attended. They were the 3 volunteers in the room, and believe me, all 3 of them, particularly at the very beginning, O.J., I'll just recite for you, O.J. Armstrong regaled the experts at Texas Water with his knowledge of the water system. Incredible. Rodney kept us strongly stable in the middle, and at the very end, the mayor came up with a creative idea to deal with one sort of hanging point on the mediation. So bottom line is that we entered into a mediation agreement, at least we signed up in an interim form, a mediation agreement that we'll be asking City Council to approve tonight. It basically establishes a certain minimum levels at the salient tank so that we don't have this irregularity of supply. It also sets up a schedule of other things that we're going to do with Texas Water, including we're going to go back into mediation with them again within the next 60 to 120 days to address some big picture issues relating to some claims they're making on replacement of capital items, some claims we're making for compensation for use of water that we haven't used, reuse of water on their part, and other issues, all in a good faith conciliatory manner into mediation. We're also going to establish a working group with them to deal with communications issues that Damon will head up, working with Warren. And we're going to establish establish our own internal study group to deal with infrastructure improvements, which will come as part of CMAQ, but really as an adjunct to CMAQ to deal specifically with a lot of the very technical upgrade questions with respect to this line, this water line, down to Canyon Lake. We also came up with some provisions, basically to pull down some of the public statements that we put out there, make a public statement about progress in this mediation, and revisit. In this document, we propose to let this agreement last for 12 months, but with recent developments, we're probably going to talk about extending that. So that's the summary, and frankly, professionals that were there, Warren was there, of course, I was there, Damon was there, we have to remark, but the volunteers, you all made it happen. You and O.J. Armstrong made it happen. And for that reason, I want to congratulate you really on behalf of, I don't represent the entire city, but from my point of view, it was a very successful first step in mediation and dealing with a very, very complicated arrangement and agreement that's going to continue on now.
and challenge, council and the city going forward. So, that's a fair summary.
Thank you. So with that, we're going to close this general session at 8:42. Executive session. When we come back, we are